It's time to kick things off on Rip and Riff with
my Rip and Rant.
Thanks, Dave. So, mine will lead to your. Do you want to? I mean, they're kind of related. So, do you want to take the? Do you want to kick off here, and I'll take the series, or how do you want to handle this?
Yeah, I guess I can go first, and then you can kind of piggyback off of it. So, my Rip and Rant this week is on Matt Rempe, New York Rangers goon. I'm not going to call him a star like the New York Post because the word star is doing a lot of heavy lifting there. And if you're not familiar with the player, let's just say he's played, 22 career regular season games, and he's been ejected from 4 of them. And he got a 4-game suspension last year for elbowing, and had an incident over the weekend where he boarded/elbowed Miro Heiskanen of the Dallas Stars. And we can't show the play, but you can certainly look it up. The type of play that he got suspended for is the exact type of play the NHL is trying to get out of the game. Between, it's a defenseless player, Heiskanen's playing the puck along the boards, Rempe's literally 15 feet away, and he deliberately makes strides towards him and boards him / elbows him in the back of the neck and the head. And Pete DeBoer after the game called it a dangerous hit, and rightfully so. I think it was, I think he hit the nail on the head. It was a dangerous hit. But the cherry on top for me with Matt Rempe is once again, as he's being shown the door in one of these games, he's taunting the crowd. He's being an ass. He's putting his hand to his ear, doing the Hulk Hogan, I can't hear you. It's dude, you've been in the NHL for 5 minutes, and you keep pulling this nonsense. And I know that when the NHL put out their suspension video for him, they didn't mention that, but you honestly deserve an extra game or two on top of that, just for being an ass on top of it, because it just shows that you don't get it. I'm not saying he's out there deliberately trying to hurt people. I'm not saying don't play physical. I want to be clear about that. And we've talked a lot about on this show about physical play and all that sort of stuff and how there's a place for it. But he either doesn't know where that proverbial line is where he can't control himself from crossing it, or he just doesn't give a shit. And he'll keep crossing it, and he's going to do whatever he wants to do. And either way, it's not acceptable. And, this whole situation's been worse by all the people who enable him, and, the media over the summer writing all these fluff pieces about his training with, what's his face, training about how to be a better fighter or whatever. It's maybe you should train how to be a better hockey player. And I think the worst thing with this entire thing is I watched a lot of that game on Friday. That was actually one of his better games in terms of being an agitator and being a pest and, getting under the skin of the opponent, but not crossing the line. And then he went and did that. So he got 8 games. Personally, I think 8 games is a little bit light, but, you suspend him for more than that, you're going to run the risk of it being overturned. And I just feel with Rempe, at some point, if somebody doesn't step in, he's going to seriously injure somebody, because he clearly doesn't care. He's going to do whatever he wants to do.
George Laraque was the guy you were thinking of that he trained with over the summer.
Thank you. I didn't want to just throw a name out there and have it be incorrect.
No, I double checked. It was George Laraque. And listen, literally the only thing I'll disagree with is I think 8 games, which is basically 10% of the regular season, is, like you said, a good way to go, because you have to worry about anything longer than that than the Players Association having to be no, we need to appeal this, blah, blah, blah. I am a Ranger fan. There's really nothing I can disagree with. Like you said, and he was having an impact on that game. He was doing, and that's the thing. Both of us are guys that Scott Stevens is one of your favorite players of all time. One of my favorite hockey players of all time is Scott Stevens taking Eric Lindros out in the conference finals that year. We like physical play. That's what Rempe does is over the line. It's sometimes bodies will make contact, arms will fly, and you'll elbow somebody. You don't mean to elbow. That's just physics. Sometimes you can't control your show me where on that play where he was unable to not hit him the way he did, where he could have You don't hit a guy if you could see his name and his number on his back, you're not supposed to plow him into the boards. Number one, that's the rule right there. You want to like skate up and pin him, like make sure he can't. There's a difference, and there's a way.
Mean, it's textbook boarding. That's exactly what it is.
So that's first of all, and two, what was disappointing, and like, listen, he's a young guy, so you can't really get too on him for this. He had a chance to come in. This team is a disaster right now, even before what happened with Rempe. And we've all seen what happens when Rempe comes in the lineup. He has an impact. He has the team plays better. He had an opportunity. Like, he didn't seize the moment. He could have been like, all right, the way he was playing earlier in the game before he had that play, just play that way, and you're going to have an impact on this team right now, because they were dying for anything, any sort of positive impact, anything to look and be like, all right, he's got us going. We got our jump. We got our jam. Let's go. Let's get down to, we're playing the Dallas Stars. You're not going to beat them easy. You got to play. And he wasted the opportunity. And like you said, him walking off the ice, doing like the, can't hear you, whatever, like that just shows he's immature. And like you said, he got pumped up. I mean, even in this industry, I mean, the Rempe rookie card was getting like, attention. Who would have thought Matt Rempe's rookie card would ever have meant anything? And it's just, here we are again with the Rangers. It's like, things were bad, Chris Drury and all this other stuff going on. And like, no, here's Rempe. And then you got Sarah Palin sounding off like, oh, when did the hockey fans become soft? No. There's playing physical, and then there's doing stupid, dirty things. And that's exactly what Rempe did. And frankly, like, at a certain point, like, people wonder why, like, oh, Laviolette doesn't dress him. That's why. Because what are you going to have him for? A game, 2 games before he gets suspended? And it's going to cost somebody else their, concussion protocol, if not worse. Like, no.
Right. There's a reason the Rangers barely trust him to play like 5 minutes a night as it is. And this is the reason why, because they can't trust him to not have a game misconduct and get himself tossed. And, he's a guy who's already had 8 major penalties for, he's played 22 NHL regular season games. He has 8 major penalties. Like, when you continue to put your team in a bind like that by having to kill off 5-minute majors, like, that's not a recipe for staying in the lineup. Even though the Rangers have, for the most part, I think have probably killed off most of those 5-minute majors. But, that's not the point. The point is, like, you can't continue to put the team in a bind like that. And like you said, there's a difference between like a bang play, elbow gets up by accident. There's a difference between that and what we saw on Friday with Rempe, where he went out of his way to lay a big hit. So.
Yeah, it's like we trade the dirty hit from the blue line up to the the 4th line. That's all we've done. We get Trouba out, and now you put Rempe in, and it's like, even when that 8-game suspension is over, like, how can you put him back in the lineup? Like, you can't. Like, at some point you're gonna have to, due to injuries or back to backs, and somebody, like, it'll happen. Like, he can't have a guaranteed spot in this lineup until he proves that he can go out and play 5 minutes a night, like you said, and play it edgy, but try and stay on the right side of the line.
I don't think he can. I think this is just who he is as a player. Like, I'm not saying he's like maliciously trying to hurt people, but like, I think he just doesn't care. Like, I think he's just going to be like, I'm going to play how I play, and that's it.
And to me, when people are like, oh, that's just how I play, I can't turn it off, bro. It's like, no, because it works the other way, right? Like, most of the time, everybody's playing a good, clean, hard-paced game, but then you do something dirty or unsavory, and even the nicest of guys can snap and really just go nuts on somebody. So it works both ways. So you can be a hard, edgy, physical player, but know when to dial it back from 10 to 9.5 in that department, and that can make a difference. And if at this point, if he's not learning, let him go be somebody else's liability, because that's what he is.
Yep.
Now, let's get in the holiday spirit here. We've got, like, it's rare that you and I agree on an issue about the Rangers, but like, it's just like, the season's embarrassing, and then that happens, and it's just like, oh, here we go, we're back to square one again. I mean, I know they got the win in Dallas, but still.